Inspired by a true story, this narrative has been adapted for creative purposes. Characters and locations have been fictionalized and certain circumstances modified while staying true to the essence of the original events. Let's start. Here as he lie, 2 weeks into his hospital stay, recovering from a marathon 12-hour surgery that saved him from the brink of life-threatening heart failure. His wife, Esperanza, and daughter, Maria, are alternating to be in his bedside all the time. After a week of intense monitoring, his doctor's triumphant declaration that the operation was a success filled him with hope and a projected release date just a week away, pending recuperation. As he gazes up at the white ceiling, it becomes a canvas for the rapid-fire memories of his 50-year life. Moments that once felt so long ago now seem like yesterday, whizzing by in a blur. Time may have etched lines on his face, but in this quiet moment, his life's journey feels astonishingly brief. Memories long tucked away in the recesses of his mind began to flow like a river's current. Having narrowly escaped death just a week ago, he found himself pondering the purpose of his life as he lay in bed, grateful for a second chance. The past came flooding back like a cinematic reel, starting from his childhood. He recalled being the clever one among his siblings, quick-witted enough to conjure excuses for his mistakes, adept at dodging assigned tasks, and skilled at claiming more than his fair share when it came to dividing treats. As he entered high school, his teenage years unfolded with ease. He effortlessly formed friendships, charmed his peers of the opposite sex, and navigated social dynamics with comfort and mutual rapport. The 4 years flew by like a breeze, paving the way for the next chapter, college. Though he dreamed of becoming a lawyer, he enrolled in journalism as the Legal Education Board didn't require a specific degree for law school admission. Leveraging his quick wit and talent, he successfully completed the pre-law requirement. However, his legal aspirations were put on hold when a media organization offered him a lucrative opportunity to cover international events. In his youth, he had casual relationships with women his age, avoiding serious commitment. That was until he met the woman he believed would be his future partner. Despite a brief engagement, they married in a simple ceremony, driven by eagerness to be together. However, his in-laws looked down on him due to their perceived social differences. They pressured him to leave his job and help manage their business. A year later, their daughter Maria was born, a beautiful baby who inherited many of her father's features. Seeking independence from his in-laws, he started his own business. But when their family business began to struggle, it had a ripple effect on his own venture. The troubles and misunderstandings took a toll on their relationship, as his wife devoted most of her time to her family's problems rather than supporting his new business. The misunderstandings escalated, and they were unable to reconcile their differences. One day, his wife left with their daughter, abandoning him in their rented apartment without even a goodbye. Crushed and disheartened, he lived alone in the rented apartment that once echoed with the laughter of his wife and 1-year-old daughter. The sudden departure felt like a free fall into despair. He struggled to accept that his wife had left him so abruptly, discarding him like a used thing. With his business faltering and no safety net, he reluctantly returned to his parents' home. There, he licked his wounds, found solace, and began plotting his next move to overcome his misfortune. Consumed by longing for his daughter and seething with anger towards his wife for abandoning him, he visited his in-laws' home, hoping to see and hold his child. However, being shunned and denied access only intensified his feelings of loneliness and isolation. Instead of breaking him, his misfortune fueled his determination to prove himself. He returned to his former job as a reporter, and the loneliness and longing for his daughter seemed to drive him forward. He became a renowned investigative journalist, earning respect from the community. Ironically, his in-laws' business venture went bankrupt, forcing his wife to seek work abroad to support her family. This turn of events was a stark contrast to his own rising. One day, as he worked on his report in his rented apartment, a knock on the door broke the silence. He opened it to find a blast from the past, Esperanza, a girl he'd had a brief, intense connection with during their teenage years. They exchanged warm greetings, and he invited her in. "I heard about what happened with your family," she said gently. "I wanted to see how you're doing." He smiled wryly. "It's a long story. I'd love to share it with someone who'll listen." Over coffee, they talked for hours about his past, his heartbreak, and his journey. She listened attentively, and he found solace in her presence. As they discussed their lives, he learned about her experiences since their teenage years. Their conversation was a balm to his soul, lifting his spirits in a way he hadn't felt in a long time. They agreed to stay in touch, meeting for dinner and conversation. As the weeks went by, their meetings became more frequent, and old feelings began to resurface. It seemed their connection was rekindled. Meanwhile, he discovered through rumors that his wife, who was working abroad, had started living with another man, an illegal cohabitation since they were still married. Seeing an opportunity to regain custody of his daughter, he visited his in-laws' home, where his daughter was staying. With his wife away, he was able to take his daughter with him, under the assumption that his in-laws believed she would be returned. However, his intention was to keep his daughter permanently. His in-laws attempted to reclaim their granddaughter, but their efforts were futile, as the father's parental rights took precedence over theirs. With his daughter now in his care, he asked his girlfriend to adopt her as her own, and she happily agreed. The three of them began building a life together as a family, their rekindled love growing stronger. To formalize their new family unit, he consulted his lawyer friend, who specialized in legal separations. Given the Philippines' laws prohibiting divorce, legal separation was the next best option. The process went smoothly, with his wife in other country was represented by her parents in court proceedings. They didn't contest his request for full custody of their child. To start anew and avoid further complications, the couple decided that the three of them move abroad. With their qualifications, they easily secured jobs and settled into their new life. 10 years later, the trio was granted citizenship in their adopted country, solidifying their new life together. Now that they had stability and security, they chose to make their commitment official. They decided to tie the knot, legally formalizing their union. His reverie was suddenly interrupted by a gentle knock at the door. "Daddy, are you decent?" "Maria's with me," Esperanza called out. "Yes, I'm decent. You can come in now," he replied. The nurse opened the door, and Esperanza and Maria entered, carrying fresh fruits and a bouquet of flowers. "How are you today?" they chimed in unison, rushing to his bedside. "Good news," he said with a smile. "I'm getting stronger every day, and I might be able to go home in 7 days." Relief and happiness washed over their faces as they enthusiastically received the good news. 7 days later, Esperanza and Maria picked him up from the hospital, eager to reunite and continue their happy family life together. End of the story.